arrested, I was 15 years old. So in a way, I'm not sure what is it that led to this. I spent 4 months in jail. At that time, the norm was physical torture. I mean, you get physically tortured until you faint, and then they will splash water in your face and start again. And when they feel you are ready, they send you to the interrogator. And that's repeated and repeated. And that's basically what, I think at that time, what everybody faced. Later, it was more of this, like subjecting you to this continued pain. Like in 1977, I was left standing with my hand tied to a pipe where I cannot sit on the ground, and with a sack on my face. That was way before Abu Ghraib, for 5 continued days and nights. And I don't think you can imagine how it feels until you go through it. And so that was like, it leaves no marks on your body, but it's so painful. And that Israel calls moderate physical pressure. To me, it didn't look as moderate. The most fear I had while standing like that, my legs started to be like this because all the blood sort of rested there. So you get them swollen, and my major fear was, am I going to lose my legs? That was terrifying, It was really, I wish somebody slapped me on the face rather than doing that to me. But, you start waiting for the interrogator to ask for you. Like that would be your relief, even if you expect to be humiliated and beaten and shouted at.
The evidence of torture is usually not physical. All of these men suffered the following progression. They would be, first of all, when they were taken in, everything was seized from them. They were usually put in a cell first, a cell that was very small, very cramped. They could just barely lie down and stand up, and that was all. And there are some of these cells that they call the coffin, where you have to lie down. And anytime they're taken out of the cell, a bag is put over their head, which they say had been dipped in feces or urine, and it was just almost impossible to breathe inside of it. And they would be subjected to loud music for hours and hours and hours, so loud that it was deafening. And they would be tied to a small chair, like a kindergarten chair, so that you're all hunched up. And the front 2 legs are shorter than the back 2, so you're tilted forward. And over a long period of time, this is very hard. Your hands are behind you, and one is inside the chair and one is outside the chair with tight cuffs. One of the men said that he was sure, he said, I screamed and screamed because I was sure that my hands were going to be, I would lose them because I'd lost all feeling in my hands. And then they're questioned.
During this intifada, more or less any given time, certainly in the last year, over 330 children in prison. And also not in the prisons that you would expect at home, not in the nice kind of child-friendly centres which, fulfill every international standard on juvenile justice and everything. But the treatment and the maltreatment that the kids go through is unbelievable.
The interrogation center is very difficult. They used the torture, the physical torture and the psychological more for the children. no family visits, no lawyer visits until he confessed. And then they send the children to the detention center. The detention center it is in the Israeli camp or in settlements. And there the situation is very difficult. They put every 10 children in a small room, 3 meters to 3 meters square, in the same bed, sometimes 2 or 3 children together, and they have to spend all the time in this room. Only they can leave the room for once a week for the 15 minutes, at the end half hour to see the sun.
There don't need to be any charges. There doesn't need to be any particular reason, it seems, that children can just be arrested because someone's heard their name. We know of one case in which a child was arrested because he happened to be wearing a T-shirt